Hi, this is me. I am a duck now. Dadam. So first, I would like to thank you guys for all the comments on the last video. The comments are so positive, someone even offered to become my game tester. Thanks bro, I really appreciate it. I've been kind of busy lately but I made some progress. I decided to focus on the dungeon mechanics, more especially on the combat system. I wanted the game to have a simple combat mechanics and to be an equipment based game, meaning the stronger the weapons and the armor, the stronger the character. I think it's perfect for the game since I wanted the progression to be based on the village. The higher the quality of the items being processed on the village, the stronger the player is going to be. So I decided to change the combat system to be like Vampire Survivors. It's simple and it's equipment based. For now, I just wanted to add two weapons, a sword and a bow. Maybe you're wondering why just two and why not add more. So let me tell you a story. When I was making my very first game, which is DunVill, not Ming, I focused more on the building system of that game. And since I'm just starting out and I wanted to learn more about coding with C# in Unity, I decided to be stubborn and I wanted to create the building system on my own. But the problem with being a noob and trying to make your own system is you're gonna rewrite the system a bunch of time to make it work. But I enjoy it too much that I keep adding more building object after creating the prototype. Then realized that the system isn't gonna work if I added a different type of building. So I rewrite the building system together with every building object that I already created. Then repeat the same thing again for a bunch more of time because I have to get slapped on my face multiple times before I learn to duck. And that is why I am only adding 2 for now. I might get slapped one more time because I might redo this again. But it won't be that hard because I only created 2 weapons. Of course, to check how flexible the system is, I needed to add 2 weapons with different behaviors. So I decided to add a sword, a melee weapon that can damage multiple enemies with a shorter range, and a bow that damages a single target but with longer range. Being clear on what I should do next, I am already ready to start making the combat system. Until I think I've been hacked and hacker is adding features that I didn't know. Like this one that gives the goblin the ability to walk in air. And another one that let the goblins pass through walls. I mean, it's a cool feature but I think the goblins should not have them. So I put those features aside and stick with normal goblins. And get ready to really make the combat system. Until for some reason the goblins don't attack the player anymore. Maybe it's not the hacker but the goblins sacrifice their attack for the ability to fly and pass through walls. It's actually a bug as you can see on the inspector. They are attacking. The animation just isn't playing. But after fixing the bug, they finally do their thing. I can finally add weapons to the game. Until the goblins decided to do land surfing. But the goblins wasn't supposed to do that. For some reason, the running animation isn't working. Which is weird because I am using the same script on the player. And the player can't do that shit. So I hunted this bug for days. Questioning my life choices. Asking myself why only my feet are cold. And why does nobody loves me. Then I remembered the question that probably saved most of the companies today. Have you tried turning it off and on again? I realized that the bug only happens when the object has been disabled and enabled again. After checking the animation script, everything made sense now. My script is saving the current animation on a string variable. This then prevents the script from running the same animation multiple times. But when an object is disabled and enabled again, the Unity animation controller resets the animation to the default state, which is idle. So I just reset the current animation string to idle every time the object is disabled and enabled again, and it fixes it. Then I can finally go back on making the combat system. Until I'm just kidding, I can finally focus on making the combat system. Making the Vampire Survivors combat system is pretty easy, if it was set up the right way. I am not the type of programmer that would insist that my way of coding is the best way to do things. In fact, the reason why I learned programming is because I stopped watching people telling me how I should write my code, and just started my own project and wrote the code my own way. But I'm telling you right now, this system is the best way to do it. So to create Vampire Survivors combat system, we only need 3 scripts. the projectile script that handles the behavior of the projectile after being spawned, then the projectile manager that spawns the projectile and reuses them for the performance of the game, and the projectile trigger, which is the weapon's effect. As soon as the weapon has been equipped, the projectile skips shooting. I made the effects with scriptable objects so I can just drag and drop it on the weapons. With these 3 scripts, I can add new projectiles and effect without changing the system. Since I wanted only one weapon to be equipped in the game, I made it so I can add multiple effects on one weapon. For example, the sword can have a forward slash, side slash, and rotation slash. I also added a bow to the game, and I will show you how easy it is to add a new weapon. I know I said only 3 scripts, but you actually needed to add a new script for every projectile behavior and every weapon effect you created. First, I created a arrow script that inherits from the projectile script. Then I override the functions on how the projectile should behave as soon as they spawn on the scene. For example, the sword rotation slash doesn't move. It just spawns, then damages all the enemies that are inside the collider, then despawn again. But for the arrow, I override the movement of the projectile to a direction. Then it despawns as soon as it hit an enemy. Now that I have the arrow script, I can attach it to an object with a collider, then drag it to the projectile manager. I just needed to add the arrow type projectile to an enum and change the type on the projectile manager. Then I can create an effect that calls the projectile manager to spawn the arrow. Then attach it to a weapon using the inventory system. I design it like this so even if the items is the same, they can still have a different effects. And with that, I will be ending it here. In the next video, I will be working on villager recruitment. I'm still thinking about how I can do this. Maybe I will just add an altar where player can offer items. With enough offerings, they can summon a villager, or add a boss fight that rewards an item that lets the player summon a villager. The first idea will be easier to implement, but the second one seems more fun. I might go with the first one because I think I can do it right now. You will see. I'm kind of juggling from making the game and making a video right now, trying out new ways I can produce more videos. Doing it this way also helps to document more of my progress. And I'm also currently looking for a job, so I got a lot going on. So that is it for this video. If you have any suggestions and ideas for the game, please let me know. Thanks for watching.